I do.
Could you please state your first and last name for the court and jury, please?
My name is David Norris.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Norris?
I work for the Athens Clark County Police Department
How long have you been working for that Clark County Police Department, sir?
since 1997.
Are you a certified law enforcement officer?
I am.
How long have you been certified, sir?
Since 1996.
I'd like to take you back to December 20, 2010, please, sir. Was you an investigator for the Omari Wray murder case investigation, sir?
I was called in to assist with it.
Who called you in to assist, sir?
I believe at the time it was Sergeant Salters.
Do you know what day he called you in, sir?
It would have been the same day, December the 28th.
Sergeant Salters. What did he brief? Did he brief you on that in any type of way, sir?
I'm sure he gave me a rundown. I couldn't tell you what he said verbatim.
Do you recall GBI agent Miss Rebecca Shaw?
Do I know one? I do.
Okay, but do you recall Mr. Salters having her briefed in any type of way on that?
I do not know.
What do you recall Sergeant Salters briefing you on?
In reference to an individual that had been shot at 360 Nottingham Drive.
Did you go to the scene of
I did.
Nottingham Drive?
I did.
Could you tell us what you done there, sir?
Arrived on scene. It was probably close to 10 or 10:30 at night. It was on that day, December the 28th. Once I got there was several uniformed officers there. I believe there was a forensics unit that was there. They advised me, I believe it was a Detective Radford, advised me that there was an individual that was present. His name was a Michael Billy Howington, and he stated that this individual was present when Kenneth Omari Wray had been discovered by the police department as being shot, and he stated this individual had not been talked to yet. So I talked to Mr. Howington.
Okay, sir. Did you have a chance to do a supplemental report on your investigation of the Omari Wray case, sir?
I did.
Did you bring it with you today, sir?
I did not.
Is there a particular reason why you didn't bring it?
I've reviewed it several times. I think I can pretty much tell you what's on it.
Who do you call the individual that you interviewed pertaining to Mr. Wray's case? Who do you recall interviewing, sir?
You mean the first person?
I mean, all of them.
The first person I talked to was a Michael Billy Howington. The second person I talked to after that was a Emmett Michael Smith. After speaking with Mr. Smith, I believe the next day I did a canvass of the area along with other detectives. I talked to a Zoe Canavan, a Scott Sutton. After speaking with them, I think I spoke with the mother of Kenneth Wray. I believe her name is Ruby Smith or Ruby Johnson. After speaking with her, I spoke with a female named Amy Orr. She was another individual that lived on Nottingham Drive, or at least was on Nottingham Drive at the time of the incident.
Okay. When you spoke to the individual, did they ever indicate anything about neighborhood, seeing the crime or anything, sir?
They did not.
Okay. Do you recall having an interview with Jim Fulton, President GBI agent Jim Fulton?
I do.
Could you tell us about that, please, sir?
That was on the following day. It was December the 29th. It was in the afternoon, probably close to 3:45 or 4 o'clock. We ended up, I'd been tasked with locating a Tyshawn Mahaffey and speaking with him because his name had came up in reference to this investigation.
Tell us about Mr. Mahaffey and your investigation of him, sir.
We went to his residence at 185 Ramble Hills, which is off of Tallahassee Road. I think when we got there, we spoke with an individual that answered the door. I don't know what his relationship was to Mr. Mahaffey. But he contacted Mr. Mahaffey, and Mr. Mahaffey came walking up to where we were at. Once he did, we asked him, we explained that we'd like to talk with you, ask you some questions. He stated that he would speak with us, and so we conducted an interview right there at 185 Ramble Hills. While talking with him, we wanted to know, since his name had came up in this investigation, we wanted to know exactly what he was doing on December the 28th during the time that Kenneth Omari Wray had been shot.
Do you recall having that interview inside your car with Mr. Haffey?
We did. That's where it took place, inside of the vehicle.
Okay. Do you recall recording that interview at any time, sir? Did you record it?
I did record it.
What's the purpose of recording that interview?
It's just kind of to document exactly what we were talking about. Of course, I can't write as fast as people talk, so it helps also when I recall exactly what was being said.
Okay. Is it when you hold on, let me get it right. When you record interviews on any individual, do you also do that in case you go to a jury trial, in case you might have someone can't recall or have discrepancy, so the jury can hear what really happened or something like that? Is it fair to say that, sir?
Yeah, recordings can be used during trials, yes.
With the recording, do we all like to use recordings and play them for the jury to see, to show the jury that what actually was said on that date by that particular person? Is it safe to say that?
No, that's not a question. He would ask if he doesn't make that decision.
Okay. Well, during your interview with Mr. Tayshawn Haffey, do you recall him making any statements about Jadon Brooks threatening his life?
I do.
Could you tell us about that, please, sir?
I think into a portion of the interview, later towards the middle or towards the end of the interview, he did make a comment that when we were trying to figure out or trying for him to explain exactly why his name was surfacing in reference to this investigation, he stated that he had received a phone call or phone calls from Jadon Brooks threatening him in reference to believing that he was responsible for shooting Kenneth Wray.
Do you recall during that interview that Mr. Mahaffey stated that Jadon Brooks said they had a price on his head, they had prices on his head? Do you recall anything about that?
I don't remember specifically, but I mean, it's possible that might have been part of the conversation.
Okay. After he made no allegation about Mr. Brooks threatening his life, did y'all do any type of investigation on Mr. Brooks in any way, sir?
I did not know.
Can you tell us why not, please?
Well, at the time we were investigating the Wray murder, we asked Mr. Mahaffey about the threats. He said he was not worried about the threats. He said that we asked him if he knew where he lived at. He said he did, but he's not going to come over there. He said he hadn't done anything, so he wasn't worried about anything.
Okay. Do you recall Sergeant Salter stating anything about Jadon Brooks being a drug dealer throughout this investigation? Do you recall anything like that?
I do not.
Okay. Do you recall that people making allegations that Mr. Wray was receiving death threats via phone, via Facebook before he was shot and killed, sir?
I don't remember anything about the phone. I think I vaguely remember there had been mentioned in one of our briefings that he had received something through the internet or Facebook or some type of social media.
You stated briefing. Could you explain what is the briefing that y'all had concerning Mr. Wray?
Anytime we're investigating a case that involves numerous detectives or even other agencies and larger cases, involves so many different people. So many different people are doing so many different things. We have briefings periodically so everybody can meet and kind of talk to one another and explain exactly what the other persons have discovered, any new directions the investigation may need to take. And it seems like I do remember in one of those briefings somebody had mentioned something about a threat through Facebook or social media. But what the details of the threat are or who the actual individual officer or GBI agent was that might have said that, I couldn't tell you that.
Okay. Do you recall Jamie Hood being one
I do not know.
Prior to March 22nd, 2011, did you get any indication at all that Jamie Hood was a suspect in the Omari Wray case at all, sir?
I'm not familiar with it, no.
During the briefing that you had, do you recall Sergeant Salter interviewed Jadon Brooks and stated that Jadon Brooks was a known drug dealer in Avatar County? Do you recall that, sir?
I do not know.
Is it possible he said it and you missed it, or you?
I can't say he said it or didn't say it, I just don't remember.
Do you know Mr. Jadon Brooks at all?
No, I don't. I mean, I know who he is from seeing him in the hallway, but I do not know him outside of this.
You went to the scene of Omari Wray the night that the crime scene, December 28th. Did you go to the scene yourself, sir?
I did.
Okay. Did you see anything about some shell casing? Notice anything about some shell casing or anything?
I think I did walk through the scene and saw some shell casings, yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with the shell casing they found in the back of my Cadillac? A shell casing in the back of my Cadillac. Are you familiar with that, sir?
I am not.
Throughout this case, throughout your investigation, sir, have you found any physical evidence like DNA, fingerprints, blood, palm prints, shoe prints, anything that matched Jamie Hood at the scene of Omari Wray murder, sir?
I have not, no.
Okay. Have you or anybody else in law enforcement found the gun that was used to shoot Mr. Omari Wray on December 28th, 2010, sir?
I can only say I have not.
Okay. So, do you know of anyone who might have in any way?
I don't know.
Did you do any type of investigation on this case through the March 22nd through the March 25th? Did you do any investigation?
What do you mean?
On the police shooting incident, I'm sorry, Jadon Brooks alleged carjacking, kidnapping, and the police shooting incident, and the massive manhunt, did you participate in that in any type of way?
I did.
Could you give us a synopsis of what you've done, sir?
I met with, there was a lady that had been carjacked over on Windy Hill Court, Deborah Lumpkin. I met with her and conducted the investigation into that.
You also did a photo identification, a lineup identification, something like that?
I did.
Okay. Do you recall testifying earlier that anything about a victim or alleged victim being told that a suspect, do you recall saying that would be improper for anybody to do that? Do you recall that, sir?
I believe the question was, would it be improper for an officer to identify the person that was in the photographs? Yes, that's correct.
Okay. How long have you been in law enforcement, sir?
20 years.
20. As your 20 years experience, at any time, is it common practice for an officer, under any circumstances, and any identification, to tell a suspect or alleged suspect, hey, we have a suspect here? Is that a common practice that y'all do that?
Ask that one more time.
Is it a common practice for anybody in law enforcement conducting an identification to tell the suspect or the alleged suspect, hey, we have a suspect here? Is that common practice?
You mean to tell the victim?
Yes, sir.
No, that's not common practice.
Why would that not be common practice?
You didn't want to prejudice the individual that might be assisting in the investigation, whether it's a victim or whether it's a witness.
Would telling a victim or alleged victim, hey, we have a suspect here, would that cause people to misidentify somebody in any type of way?
It may.
No further questions.
Detective Norris, you know Tony Howard, is that right?
I do.
And prior to working with the police department, you worked where, sir?
At the Clark County Sheriff's Department
That's where you started in law enforcement in 1996, is that correct, sir?
in 1995.
1995. And you worked at the sheriff's department for how long?
About 2.5 years.
And your time at the sheriff's department, you worked in what part of the sheriff's department?
I worked at the jail located on Lexington Road.
So you started in 95 and you left about when, you think?
1997.
And 1997 from the sheriff's department or 1997 from the jail?
From the sheriff's department. I went to the Athens Clark County Police Department
Was that late '97?
in October.
I see. And then you weren't with the police department from October of '97 till the present, is that correct?
That's correct.
And Tony Howard, you've been knowing him since you worked in the sheriff's department, is that correct?
I have.
Did you know him before that at all?
I did not.
And you left the sheriff's department before he left the sheriff's department, is that what you understood?
I'm not sure on that.
Okay. And then you knew at some point he'd been working at the police department, is that correct?
That's correct.
And during the entire time that you've known him, have you come to know his reputation in the community, particularly his work community, for violence or peacefulness?
I have an opinion about it.
And have you based that on basically what folks have said or what you've heard over the years in the different environments that you've seen him in?
That's correct. It's people at the police department or actual observations of myself, yes.
Yes. And what is that opinion, sir?
I think I consider Tony to be a good police officer. I consider Tony to be an honest person.
And as far as him being peaceful, have you ever heard anything negative about him basically using any kind of excessive force in any way?
Not that I recall, no.
Let me see Defense Exhibit 34, 35, please. Sir, let me show you what's been marked as Defense Exhibit number 34.
She's going to switch it over and go back.
I see, thank you. I'll tell you what, let me just do this, let me just show them people documents, I'll just do that. If I need to show them on the screen, I will, let me show it to them. Let me show you, first of all, Defense Exhibit number 34. Would you look at that, please, sir?
Okay.
You see this as a disciplinary report concerning Corporal Tony Howard at the Sheriff's Department in 2002. Is that right, sir?
I don't remember the date on it. I kind of just skimmed over it.
Yes, sir. And it involves basically where he was disciplined, as it indicated that something about him not wearing his uniform during an off-duty job, and there was an indication that he believed he basically made the correct statements in that. Is that right, sir?
I'd really just skimmed over it. If you want me to take time and read it, I'll be glad to.
Sure. Why don't you do that? While you're doing that, look at Defense Exhibit 35 as well.
Okay.
The first one, in 2002, would have been some disciplinary action for making a false statement, some administrative investigation.
Yes, sir.
The second one would have been just simply a matter of saying that the supervisor, you need to go to counseling, perhaps handle somebody working working under you in a better manner?
Yes, sir.
Right. And knowing these two matters here, that one, second one being in 2000, and the first one being in 2002, was any of those matters change your opinion of Tony Howard in any way?
You know, if you'd have just told me that in person, I probably wouldn't have believed it. Just reading the papers that you have right there, it's very surprising to me. But no, it currently does not change my opinion of him. That was 14 years ago.
Thank you, sir. And just one more. That's all I have. Well, I mean, one other thing, I guess. I sure I'm happy when you spoke to him. He was one of the ones that y'all had information that might be a suspect in the Omari Wray death. Isn't that correct?
Yes, sir.
And that was one of the leads that y'all had, correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
And you proceeded, as with any leads, to follow up with that, didn't you?
That's correct.
And you spoke with Mr. Mahaffey?
I did.
right? And he indicated at that time that he was at Thomas Lake Park the night before. Isn't that right, playing basketball?
That's correct.
And you went and spoke to the folks over at Thomas Lake Park at the gym there to find that out, isn't that correct?
That's correct.
And when you did, you spoke to two different employees about that, didn't you?
I did LaJonda Jett and LaJonda Lett and Wayne Fairfax.
And from everything else that he said, that turned out to be exactly correct, isn't that true?
That's correct.
And in fact, the indication there, he was there pretty much every Tuesday, Thursday,
That's correct.
playing basketball till they closed.
That's correct.
Is that correct? Thank you, sir.
I got a bad headache. If I can't, if it get worse, I'll tell you about it. Now, see, Mr. Norris, when Mr. Malden just talked to me about these exhibits, Officer Howard, did he say anything about Officer Howard thinking he's gonna hit another officer in the head, another law enforcement officer in the head?
No, he did not specifically say that.
Did he state anything, did he just ask, did he state anything to you or ask you any question about Officer Howard telling another law enforcement officer, I'm gonna whoop your ass? Did he state anything about that?
No, he didn't.
You said it would surprise you, Officer Howard, if you ever knew that. Why would that surprise you?
That's not the Officer Howard I know.
Would it surprise you, Officer Howard died through a car when they grabbed me? Would that surprise you also?
And that's not the evidence at all, that's a misleading question.
Would it surprise you that Officer Howard had a affair with the preacher wife and had a son out of wedlock with the preacher wife? Would that surprise you too?
That's not the Tony Howard that I know.
Did you know he had an affair with the preacher wife?
I did not know.
How do you feel about him having an affair with the preacher wife and having a son out of wedlock with the preacher wife?
Mine and Tony Howard's relationship is a professional relationship. It's work related.
Is it something that you want to turn a blind eye to because he worked as a police officer?
You know what Tony Howard does in his personal time. That's whatever Tony Howard decides to do.
This was
quite sure.
When you read that, what did it say, officer? You need to read it again?
Corporal Howard,
Yeah, what other officer was named? Who was he? Corporal Lindsey? That's a deputy too, right?
that's correct.
Okay. Now, would it appear that they was at work or something to that effect after you read that, sir?
I'm not sure.
But you would agree, are you sure, or are you certain that it is Deputy Lindsey was another officer?
I don't know who Deputy Lindsay is. I'm just assuming that because it's preceded with deputy.
So, is it fair to say that you assume he was a deputy for the Clark County Police Department at the time?
Oh, yeah, I believe so. I mean, it's got corporal in front of it, and I see the date of April the 28th, 2000.
And you said you haven't just seen everything Officer Tony Howard did, right?
Say that one more
You
time.
haven't saw everything that he did. You only gauged on what you got from him, right?
That's correct. My opinion of Officer Howard or Tony Howard is personal observations and things that I've experienced through him, either at the Sheriff's Department or the Police Department.
But you don't be with him 24/7.
I do not.
Is this a fair indication that, you can't judge him off, you just can't judge him off what you got because you see something else here?
Ask that one more time.
You just can't judge him based off what you see because you see some more evidence or something else you sort of see right here, right?
Yeah, this is a counseling statement, I'm assuming. This does not change my mind of Tony Howard.
You stated that Tony Howard was an honest person too, correct?
I believe he is, yes.
Exhibit 34 showed that Mr. Tony Howard was suspended for giving false statement during administration investigation.
It does indicate that.
Okay, so is that honest, if you being suspended during a administration investigation, is that being honest?
According to this document, no.
You didn't know that, right?
I did not know
But
that.
you see it today, right?
I see it today.
So it's possible that he'll tell a lie. He will lie.
You can't answer that, that's speculation. You can ask him about the document.
Do this document state that he was suspended? You see right here what displays that.
It does indicate suspension.
Do it matter if you given a false statement about clothing or a false statement about driving a car, washing clothes, or a false statement is a false statement?
That's correct.
Regardless if you wear a police badge, if you just a regular citizen, a lie is a lie. Is that right?
I agree with that.
Do it prevent people from being, do wearing a badge exempt people from telling lies?
Ask that one more time.
Do wearing a police badge exempt people from telling lies?
No, it does not.
No further questions.
No further questions, Warren? Maybe excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. All right, next one.
Would that be Sergeant Sullivan? I kind of missed you. Please raise your right hand, Mr. Saunders. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give to the court and the jury on the matter currently pending before the court will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Please be seated, sir. Could you state your first and last name for the jury, please, sir?
Yes, it's Jerry, Jerry, Salters, Saulters.
What do you do for a living, Mr. Saunders?
Work for the Athens Clark County Police Department.
How long have you been doing that, Mr. Saunders?
17 years.
Are you a certified law enforcement officer in the state of Georgia, Mr. Saunders?
Yes, I am.
How long have you been certified?
17 years.
Mr. Saunders, I'd like to take you back to 2010, sir. Do you recall investigating the Omari Wray murder case, sir?
Yes, I do.
Would you tell us your investigation, what you did for investigating that case, sir?
Yes. December 28, 2010, around 9 o'clock, I received a call from investigator Detective Ivy. He said there'd been a shooting on Nottingham. So the person who got shot wasn't in good condition. I was at home at the time, so I went in and called other investigators to include the GBI, and I was the supervisor, sergeant, in robbery homicide at that time. And then I responded to the hospital to assist Detective Ivy in the investigation. That was pretty much the start of it.
Okay. Did you go to the scene that night, Mr. Salters?
Yes, I did.
Can you tell us what you done at the scene that night, please, sir?
Yes, when we got back to the scene, of course, I looked at the scene, seen where blood evidence was, other things, and then I began to canvass the neighborhood by knocking on doors and talking to neighbors.
Did you bring your supplemental report or written report of your investigation with you today, sir?
Yes, I did.
Could you please review that and tell us off your written report a synopsis of what you've done, please, sir?
Of the entire investigation?
Yes, a synopsis. You have to go
Okay.
through all of it.
All right, after responding to the hospital, we tried to interview people at the hospital. Of course, a lot of people were upset, and once the hospital notified the family that Mr. Wray was deceased, a lot of people were upset, and at that point, we couldn't continue our interviews, so that's when I went out to the scene. We started canvassing that night, done some other things. Some names came up during the investigation. One of the names that came up was a Mr. Smith. And I'm trying to get his first name. Hold on a second.
Would it be Emmett Smith?
Yeah, Emmett Michael Smith as having an argument with Mr. Wray. So at 3 o'clock in the morning, I went out and interviewed him in his residence. And after speaking with him, went back to the police department. It was 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, so we went ahead and left to go get some rest and come back in.
Do you recall, okay, did you do another investigation on December 29th, sir?
Yes, I did.
Could you please tell us about that December 29th investigation, please?
I spoke with Jadon Brooks, who was close, who was best friends with Omari Wray, and he had given me some information about a possible Tashawn Mahaffey who had burglarized Mr. Wray's house before, and he also asked me if we had found some marijuana that he had just supplied. He said he had supplied him with a pound of marijuana 2 days prior to that, and asked if we found that, and I told him we did not find it, and he told me that it would be that I could find it in a speaker box in the carport. So I went back to that residence and checked the speaker box and located a large amount of marijuana along with scales and baggies, and we photographed and collected that evidence.
Did Jadon Brooks state that he supplied Mr. Wray with the marijuana?
Yes, he did.
Did you force him to tell you that?
No, I didn't.
Why would Mr. Brooks tell you that he gave Mr. Wray some marijuana?
Mr. Brooks was very upset, and him and Omari was best friends, and he wanted to find out who done it, and I explained to him that we needed to know everything and know the truth to help us solve the case, and then he asked about the marijuana, and of course, it told us that he had supplied that marijuana to Omari to sell for extra money, and that's where I could find it, and it was found there.
How many days prior did he supply that marijuana before Mr. Wray was shot?
He told me 2 days prior.
Throughout this investigation, did you tell any other agents about Mr. Wray giving, Mr. Brooks giving Mr. Wray the marijuana 2 days before the shooting incident?
Yes.
Who did you tell, sir? Who you recall said tell?
Sergeant Nichols actually went with me to the residence to collect the marijuana, and we work on any homicide. We're working as a team, and so I would tell other investigators. You know, I couldn't tell you names, but would explain we found this. They were aware that we had found that large amount of marijuana in the speaker outside.
How much was the marijuana? You said a large amount.
It was close to a pound. It was a pretty good bit, significant.
How many ounces in a pound?
16.
So you had 16 ounces in that speaker box?
It was a large bag of marijuana with smaller bags. I didn't weigh it. There was a scale in there. I did not weigh it. It simply was collected and turned into evidence.
After Mr. Brooks disclosed that he supplied Mr. Wray with some marijuana, did you do any type of investigation on Mr. Brooks at all?
No, I did not.
Why not?
We're working a homicide investigation, and my priority was to try to solve the homicide of Omari Wray. So I wasn't worried about the marijuana part, and him providing that information at that point. The homicide took precedence over the marijuana.
So y'all were letting your darn, you was, is it safe to say that you were letting your darn group roam around after selling drugs, you know about it?
No.
Well, what you call it?
From what Mr. Brooks told me, that he had provided that, again, he was a witness in the case, and our priority was the homicide, not marijuana.
Are you familiar with police let snitches stay on the street and let them sell drugs, they get them certain information, are you familiar with that code?
I think that's an argument question. It's a leading question. I don't know whether it's a basis for it.
I'm not familiar with the code of that, no, I'm not.
Do the police show certain favor to people who give police information about drug dealers and killing folks? Do y'all let them stay on the street and sell drugs? If they do favor for y'all, like tell on people?
Not that I'm aware of, no.
Have you ever heard of that before in law enforcement?
No, I know that the drug unit has informants that they use, but outside of that, I've never been assigned to the drug unit, so I'm not
Okay.
sure how that works.
Is it your duty as a law enforcement agent to stop crime when you know about it?
It is.
Okay, so on December 29th, this guy telling you he's selling marijuana, the law corner of you let him stay out there on the street.
That's Again, the focus of the investigation was the homicide, and for him giving me that information, he was not charged.
Okay, but is it possible that you could have investigated Mr. Brooks about drug dealing and possible killing, other killings and threats and everything else?
Yes, the information was passed on to the drug unit. They were aware of Mr. Brooks.
So you passed the information on to the drug dealer?
Well, they were involved because it was a drug-related homicide, so they knew about the case as well.
Okay, but the information that he gave you, did you give that to the drug unit yourself?
No.
Why not?
Again, my focus was on the homicide of Omari Wray, not the fact that Jadon Brooks had given him some marijuana to sell.
Did you receive that information because y'all had Jadon Brooks out here working for y'all in any type of way, telling on people selling drugs, anything?
No.
How often have you known a person to sell drugs, you let them just stay out there and do it?
Not often. I mean, I don't understand. Me personally, you're asking?
Yes, sir.
No, I don't do that.
Well, why you doing this day with Jadon?
On a homicide case, we often, that is quite often, on a homicide case, if there's a small amount of drugs involved or a certain amount of drugs involved, again, we're focused on the homicide. We wasn't worried about that drugs as far as that went.
What did drug cost you? You think you could have prevented that if you had to investigate the drug part? Have you ever thought about drug could have cost Mr. Ray his life? Have you ever thought about that?
Mr. Ray was already deceased by the time we learned of the drugs.
Okay, but he was involved in drugs from what you're telling us. A man that told you to go up on there and find a large amount of marijuana that's in a speaker box, and he just volunteered this information out of nowhere.
Yes.
So you didn't investigate Mr. Ray drug dealing or Jadon Brooks drug dealing that cost, but possibly could have lived if you didn't do that.
It was part of the case file. Again, our focus was on the homicide, and it's included in my written report as well as others as far as the activity.
Okay. On December 29th, do you recall talking with a Miss Rebecca Shaw, GBA agent, who come in to assist in the Omari Wray murder?
I do.
Okay, could you tell us about the briefing that y'all had?
The briefing would consist of updating her on the information as far as the case, what we've done so far, backgrounds, things of that nature.
Could you give us, what you tell us about the briefing?
Again, I don't know specifically, but I know it's in general. I gave her information as far as what we were working and the different things.
Did you tell Ms. Shaw during the briefing on December 29, 2010 that Mr. Ray dealt marijuana from his residence?
I could have, yes.
Do you recall during your briefing telling Ms. Shaw that you interviewed Jadon Brooks, a friend of Ray, and Brooks was a known drug dealer in Nashville County?
Yes.
Okay, how did you know that Mr. Brooks was a known drug dealer in Nashville County? How did that come
17 years. 7 years of that was spent working on the west side, of the Paldo area, Rock Springs, Broadacres, areas of that. And so I knew Jadon Brooks prior to this incident and knew that he had knowledge from my experience on the street that he sold drugs. And so that's why I made that statement.
Right. So you knew Jadon Brooks was a drug dealer before Mr. Omari Wray was shot and killed?
Yes.
How y'all let him stay out there? How? And you know what he was selling? He was telling you, he said, how in the world you let him stay out there?
I didn't have any information, or I didn't have anything direct to charge him with, nor have I arrested him. Again, that's from my experience working the streets and knowing the areas and different things of that nature.
Okay, so is it common practice for anybody, law enforcement, know people sell drugs and they tell them during a murder investigation, hey, some drugs up on there, y'all just let it go uncontested? That just common in all law enforcement, or that that's something that you individually did?
Let me understand your question correctly. You're asking me if it's common. Not all homicides are going to be drug related. The facts and circumstances surrounding this investigation. Again, we were investigating the death of Omari Wray. Information came in from Mr. Brooks that marijuana was there. We did locate it exactly where he said it was. He did say he provided it to him. Did we charge him? No. And no, that's not uncommon as far as when you're working a homicide investigation.
What you just stated, well, did you just state that you knew Mr. Brooks was a known drug dealer in Clark County? Before that, you stated that you knew.
From my experience on the street, I knew that he had involved in drug activity, yes.
So, March 22nd, 2011, are you familiar with the alleged kidnapping, well, the carjacking and kidnapping of Jadon Brooks?
Yes, I am.
Did you know that involved marijuana too? Did you know that involved marijuana?
I did not know that involved marijuana.
What type of investigation did you do on that?
I was actually at home when that occurred, and I was called, and I came in. Once I came in and got my vehicle, I heard that they were looking for a vehicle on the bypass that had been carjacked, so I began looking for that vehicle. Following that, the vehicle was located in a wooded area, and then I went over to Sycamore Drive. From there, I assisted with a team as far as going out and doing interviews. I'm also the commander of the Honor Guard, and so I was in charge of preparing the funeral for Officer Buddy Christian.
Are you aware, did you know that Mr. Brooks told me that he wanted 50 pounds of marijuana? Did you know that?
I was not aware.
Looking back on it, do you think if you had arrested Mr. Brooks prior to March 22nd, 2011, we might not be here because Mr. Brooks might have been in jail and never come on the insurrection?
That's speculation.
Sustained.
Do you think if a law enforcement officer continue to let a person who they known drug dealer or possibly known murderer stay on the street and continue to sell drugs and
No, that's an improper question, so speculation as well.
throughout your investigation of Omari Wray case, prior to March 22nd, 2011, did you receive any witnesses or any interview that would indicate Jamie Hood was the person who killed Mr. Omari Wray?
No, I did not.
Did you receive any physical evidence, DNA, blood, hair, fingerprints, shoe prints, palm prints, anything that would indicate the defendant Jamie Hood as the person who killed Mr. Wray?
No.
Have you or anybody in law enforcement ever found the gun that was used to shoot Mr. Omari Wray?
Not that I'm aware of. I wasn't involved in that. As far as the second part of the case, I don't have any knowledge of.
I have no further questions.
I don't have any questions. Lieutenant Salters.
Excused.
Let me see if I can. Yeah, he can be excused.
You're excused, Sergeant. Call your taken into recess.